All right, so this is the Cambodian Dancer. It's a story, a true story about a friend of mine. Cambodian Dancer, Sophonie's Gift of Hope. Sophanie was a dancer in Cambodia. She learned the ancient ways of dancing handed down from generation to generation. She learned how to move her hands and arms. She learned how to look like the stone reliefs on the walls of the temples. The dance gave her energy. When she grew up, she taught the dance to little girls. She taught them how to move their hands. She taught them where to put their feet. She even taught them how to tilt their heads. The dance gave the little girls energy too. Sophanie was one of the best dancers. She danced for huge crowds of people. She even danced before the king of Cambodia. But then something terrible happened. Bad men took over the land. They were called the Khmer Rouge. They destroyed the land and its people. They took away Sophonie's dance and even destroyed the reliefs on the walls of the temples. Many of the dancers disappeared. Those who were left behind became as shadow puppets, secret and saddened. The happiness of the dance was taken from them. The energy of the dance was gone. Lost and alone, Sophanie was left with nothing but her shadow. The Khmer Rouge had turned Cambodia into a shadow land, and Sophanie was forced to move far away. Many years later, on the other side of the world, Sophanie tried to help heal the wounds left by the Khmer Rouge. Even though she had escaped to a free land, she felt as if there was still a shadow. When she saw that the Cambodian children growing up in America did not know the dance of her lost home, she was sad. It was as if the children were growing up as shadows too. So she remembered the dance that was forced into hiding. She remembered how to move her hands and arms. She remembered how to look like the stone reliefs on the walls of the temples. Dancing again made her feel happy and strong. The energy of the dance shone light into the shadows. Sophanie created a school to teach the dance to the next generation of Cambodian girls. She taught them how to move their hands. She taught them where to put their feet. She even taught them how to tilt their heads. The dance gave the girls energy. The dance gave Sophanie energy too. Watching the girls, Sophanie smiled. Now the shadows are gone. Now there is dance again. That's the end. Now this is the whole thing just written in the Khmer language. And so this, I don't know if I hold it up really close in English characters, but in Khmer. And it's the same story, but told in Khmer. The company that makes the books, one of their missions is actually to let people read in English in Asian countries. So this book was distributed all over in Asia, And the reason that they chose not to put the subtitles is because they actually want Khmer people to learn English. That's part of their mission. And so, so Tuttle Company started out in Japan, teaching English in Japan, and then all over Asia and South Asia. But we wanted to include the Khmer as well because this book was distributed in Cambodia. And let me show you guys something I think is kind of cool. I'll take you through. This was really exciting project for me because usually I write textbooks and boring stuff and reports for court and reports for medical school and things like that. And so making this book was really a different project for me because I'm not usually a children's book writer. If I can share the screen, is that okay? I think you have to let me. It says the host disabled the attendee screen sharing. Do you know how to do it?
And security.
There we go. Did that work?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So check this out. Let me see. So this is a little thing that I did for. I just actually did it mostly for you guys. But it was something I had done for the school before. So the original, this is the Cambodian Dancer. This is the book that I just read to you. It was originally called How Sophony Saved the Dance. And here's some of the concept sketches that the artist did in the beginning. That's Christy Hale who did that. And I'll tell you, it's funny. This book started out, it was I really know the real person, Sophony. She's a friend and a colleague that worked with me in a mental health program in San Jose. And the story is true. It's all real. She really is a survivor of what happened in Cambodia. And she came to the United States and created a dance program that is still flourishing in San Jose. And the story started out when she told me her story. I said, this is really like, should be a memoir that is told. But I wrote down the essence in a little email that I sent to my wife. And this is the actual email that I sent to her. And you see, the funny thing to me is that the date, I wrote it in 2007. The book didn't come out until 2015. That's how long it takes to get books made. And my wife is a children's book writer. And yeah, here's the rest of that. And that's the real Sophony there with some of the kids that are in her dance program. My wife handed this over to an illustrator named Christy Hale, who's the illustrator of the book. And she liked it a lot and said that she wanted to partner with me and create a book that we could get published. And so whatever that is, 8 years later, we actually got it published. And so it's been out for a few years now. But working with her was really cool. Like, so she starts out with a sketch, see, like with a pencil. And then she goes in and makes it out into ink. And then she watercolors it. And then the rest of it's done with a computer where she actually takes the watercolor thing and puts down the texture that you see in the book. And I never knew this about the artist. I thought they just kind of drew this, right? You know, but working with her, she has this amazing studio and you got to see the whole process. Here's some of the early sketches of the book and you can watch. So she sketches it out with a pencil, turns it into the watercolor, and then turns it into the real texture that we see in the book. And so cool. Here's another one just like that, right? That's her sketch. And then it turns right into what you see in the book. And this is one of my favorites. I love this sketch so much because it's really captures the essence of the book. You know, the Angkor Wat is a big temple in Cambodia, and it's the mirror image right in the San Francisco Bay. So it's showing her embracing being an American living in San Jose, California, but still holding close her heritage from Cambodia. And then we see that in the book. And then a few other like slides I think you guys will like. Here's me actually in Cambodia with one of this is the actual Angkor Wat in the temple. And so you see some of the dancers that were, you know, from the 12th and 13th century that are laid down in the rock. It's pretty cool. There's another picture of the rock I just took. These are all pictures I took with my iPhone, by the way. These aren't like out of National Geographic or whatever. This is the temple. And everywhere around you, there's a beautiful culture. Cambodia is so neat and so rich in beautiful images. That's another thing that we really wanted to bring out in the book, is just show how amazing this place is. Here's a Stanford class that got to go with me to Cambodia. I think I'm right. There's me. But these lucky kids got to go to Cambodia and participate in some of the work that I do there. And here's Christy Hale, the illustrator. There's me. This is when we actually published the book in our book signing. And there's Sophanie. She got to sign some books for the book signing thing. Here's her in San Jose in her dance studio. This is actually, she's actually doing a performance at one of the temples with her students. This is the adult dance troupe. So the dance troupe turned into, like, it went from just kids learning how to dance to, like, when they grew up and became adults, they actually keep doing it. And so here's some of the women that actually still do the Sophony's dance program, and there's still a dance troupe in San Jose, and they work with folks in Stockton and Long Beach, other Cambodian communities. Here's the little girls at the temple. You can see the monks in the background. They're having a good time. All this right in your backyard, you guys, in San Jose there. So much rich culture in San Jose. Here's her with her kids. And that's the end of the slideshow. All right, so what questions can I answer for you?
Daryn, first of all, thank you. That was so neat to see that process. And we loved seeing the pictures of Cambodia and Angkor Wat. It's reminding us of taking our own trip there. So thank you for sharing that. That was really special. Do you guys
really
have
cool
questions?
there.
Yeah, what's your question?
Is Angkor Wat just for like one Cambodian king or for all the Cambodian kings and queens?
Angkor Wat. So Angkor Wat's such a neat place because it tells you about the richness of Cambodian culture in general. So Angkor Wat was first built as a Hindu temple. And so a lot of the stuff that's in there was built for a Hindu king that was one of the kings in Cambodia, and beautiful images from the Hindu religion all over the place. The style is definitely Indian. And then Cambodia became a Buddhist country. That one of the following kings was a Buddhist. And so he changed the architecture and built these amazing Buddhist sculptures all over the place and Buddhist images. Now, the girls dancing is a pretty Cambodian specific thing. It's not necessarily Hindu or Buddhist. It's those are called apsaras, and that's a Cambodian, it's like a mythological dancer in the Cambodian tradition. So those sculptures and those reliefs are all purely Cambodian. But I think I didn't even answer your question. You said, was it built for one king? It was built for a series of kings that lived during the 13th and 14th centuries. And it was one of the biggest empires and most important places in the whole world during that time. And even when we take, when I learned history in high school and college, I didn't even hear about the Khmer Empire. And it was compared to what was happening in the Western world. The Khmer Empire was the most important place in the world during that time. And it sounds like you guys have been there, and you can imagine remember that you guys were out there and there's a big jungle, and then there's the temples all spread around. I mean, it didn't used to be that way. It was a big city. That whole place was just one giant city with a bunch of temples in it. And people would come from China and India and all over the world to see that city. And now, it's kind of like taken over by the jungle, and, a lot of tourists there and that kind of thing. But for a long time, that place was kind of forgotten and lost. But I'm so excited that you guys got to actually see it. How cool.
So neat. Thank you for that. I love that. I loved hearing that.
Absolutely.
And I especially loved the page that you called out as well, with the reflection of Angkor Wat kind of below the Golden Gate Bridge. That was a really neat perspective.
Yeah, I love that. I love that drawing that she did. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. We might have one more question. Did you have one?
No, I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking, okay. Anyone else have a question? I have a question actually about Tiffany. So you said that she lives in San Jose, correct?
So she moved to Long Beach now. She lives in
Okay.
Long Beach, California now.
Okay.
But she, for the longest time,
Teaching?
sorry?
She's still teaching dance.
She's pretty retired. I think what she does a lot of like community involvement things. So the dance thing was the thing that I focused on for the book, because it's a children's book, but she did a lot of community activism. She did a lot of like human rights work, and I think that that's really where she's in her retirement. She's working more on, getting the temple thriving in Southern California, and like community work with Cambodian folks. And I think she's not doing the dance as much now, but she did it in San Jose from the 1980s all the way until she retired just a couple years ago.
Wow, that is a long time.
Yeah, right. And it was I think the thing that's not captured in the book, but that's really beautiful is that her students grew up, and now her students are adults, and they're running the show now.
That's very cool.
And so not just for kids, but they do weddings and they do cultural events around the United States. It's pretty cool.
How neat.
Yeah.
And then finally, so you mentioned that you're a medical doctor. You're not a full-time children's book author. However, how did you decide that a children's book was the format that you wanted to take to kind of?
Yeah, that was actually my wife's suggestion, because she writes YA novels, young adult novels, and she is in the circle of people that work on books for youth, and she looked at that email that I wrote, which is kind of, you saw it. It's kind of it's not written in prose. It's kind of written like a bit of a poem almost. And she looked at it and she said, "Well, this really fits nicely with the format that would be a children's book." And she knew Christy Hale. Christy Hale's her friend, and so she showed it to Christy and said, "What do you think?" And Christy said, "Yeah, it outlines beautifully into a children's book." So it was really their influence that got me thinking that way. And I would never have come up with the idea. I would have said, that would have been an email that was lost in just an idea,
Well, so, you were fortunate to have your wife, it sounds like. And I love that you guys worked as a team on it.
Yeah, it's super cool. Very cool.
Do you guys have any final questions?
How long did the Khmer Rouge take over?
So they took over the country in 1975. So, and then they were basically in power for not very long, for about 5 or 10 years. And the reason I say it like that is because they sort of slowly lost power, and the country that their neighbor, Vietnam, basically took power in Cambodia. But they did a lot of terrible things. They caused a lot of damage there. And now when I go back there, well, you guys have been there. This is a country that looks like a very poor country. It is a very poor country. And before, 1950s and 1960s, this was a beautiful country. It's very safe and prosperous. And we still, their damage is still lasting to this day. And so it's really kind of sad. But at the same time, I think they're making a lot of efforts to improve things, and things are getting better there. Well, you guys saw it. So you know what I'm talking about. It's a very beautiful place with such a rich culture. But there's still some sadness sort of left over from what happened in all that time ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Daryn. Do you have one last question? Yeah. Okay, what is it?
How much jungle is there in Cambodia?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of jungle. The jungle's kind of like, well, you guys saw it, I think, but it's sort of like if you've been to Disneyland and you go on the Jungle Book ride, or have you guys done that, the jungle ride in Disneyland? Some of the stuff in that ride is supposed to be Cambodia. There's the Cambodian tiger, and the images that look like Angkor Wat are in there. But a lot of it's very tropical. It's very hot. I don't know what time of year you guys went, but it can be very, very hot and sticky.
We were there in November, and it was pretty roasty.
Yeah. If you go in April, it's like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit most days, and then it's also like so humid. And there's a lot of jungle, and then there's a lot of places that have been clear cut to make rice or other things like that. But it is definitely a tropical place. Lots of snakes.
Well, thank you, Daryn. This has been amazing and so informative and so fun to hear the book in your own voice. So thank you for sharing that with us.
And thank you guys.